conversation. Welcome to the program. Let's get it started. This story right here, I started to title it something different, but I would let the title stay up there. All right, according to Reuters News, in an article written by Lisa Richwine, Lil Nas X returns to court on police assault charges. Grammy-winning musician Lil Nas X, whose legal name is Monterio Hill, he made an appearance in court. For what? He has 4 felony charges for allegedly assaulting and resisting police officers responding to an incident in August when police approached him while he was reportedly walking nearly naked on the streets of Los Angeles and Van Nuys, California. Let's talk about that. We go to the comment section. What's happening, bad dude? Welcome to the program. First of all, the thing that stands out to me is that once you are charged with assault on police officer, or you're automatically found guilty, even before you get to court. Doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how privileged you are, especially in this climate, an assault on a police officer warrants major time. So according to Reuters News, Grammy-winning rapper Lil Nas X appeared in a Los Angeles courtroom today for proceedings related to his August arrest and charges of assaulting police officers. The, quote, Old Town Road, end quote, singer had missed a previous court date because he was undergoing inpatient treatment in another state, his lawyers said at the time. The sad thing about this is that this young man is going to pay a price for what occurred that night in California. We've all seen the video. Apparently, it seems like he was under some type of drug or drugs. Why do you say that, Tyrone? Because if you're in an inpatient treatment program being treated for alleged drug addiction or addiction behavior, that means that you have an alleged drug problem. But the 4 assault felony charges against him are not going to go away. Hear me when I tell you this. The 4 assault felony charges against Lil Nas X, whose real name is Monterio Hill, those charges are not going to go anywhere. He's going to do some jail time, whether you all like it or not. Whether he pleads no contest, let me break down some things here. We define some legal terms, since I am a criminal justice major. So let's talk about some legal terms. What does no contest mean? People hear terms, but they don't know what they mean. I'm just not going to throw stuff out here. So, no pleading or no contest is not the same as a guilty plea. Though in a criminal case, both result in a conviction and a criminal record. The key difference is that a no contest plea is not an admission of guilt and can prevent the plea from being used against you in a related civil lawsuit, unlike a guilty plea. So, according to the criminal record, both pleas result in conviction on your criminal record, and both pleas waive your right to a trial, and the court will move directly to sentencing. With either plea, when you plead guilty, know this, individuals, before you listen to your public pretender or listen to your lawyer who's not being paid the big money to represent you, or if you have a court-appointed attorney who wants to hurry up and get on to the next case, with either plea, you're giving up your right to a trial, the right to confront witnesses, and the right to remain silent. Now, an admission of guilt, which is a guilty plea, is a direct admission of guilt, while a no contest plea, nolo contendere, is not an admission of guilt. That's what a lot of celebrities enter into. Nolo contendere, meaning they're not admitting to any guilt. And it is not an admission of guilt. You're essentially accepting the punishment without admitting responsibility for the crime. A lot of politicians fall under those guidelines. A lot of celebrities fall under these guidelines. But however, just because you enter into a nolo contendere plea, that does not stop an individual from taking you to civil court. And in civil court, this is the most significant difference because a guilty plea is an admission of guilt. It can be used as evidence against you in a related civil lawsuit. A no contest plea generally cannot be used in this way. And here's an example. If you plead guilty to a DUI, driving under the influence, and then a pedestrian sues you for injuries, your guilty plea can be used to help prove you were negligent. If you plead no contest, the plaintiff would have to prove your negligence separately without using the plea as evidence. So what are the legal ramifications and implications here? While the immediate criminal penalties are the same, the lack of an admission of guilt in a no contest plea can be strategically beneficial in other legal proceedings. So what's the Lil Nas X do? Well, it is highly recommended to consult, first of all, with his attorney to determine which plea is right for him. Because either way, they're looking for blood. Either way, they want him to do jail time. That's why they have 4 felonies against him. That's why the district attorney was quick to charge him with 4 felonies that would garner sympathy for the police, that would garner an outrage from the public, that would poison a potential jury pool against him, who the jury would automatically have empathy for the police officers and find him guilty. All this is all psychological. Even before you enter court, ladies and gentlemen, decisions have already been made. You're nothing more but an actor or an actress appearing in a stage play or in a movie or a Broadway production in the court of law. Because the moment you walk up into that courtroom, you are presumed to be found guilty. It doesn't matter how you plead. That's just a formality. Well, how does your client plead? Oh, my client pleads not guilty. Okay, bail set at $500,000. Get that garbage out of here. You're automatically presumed to be found guilty. They want you to prove your innocence, when it's supposed to be the other way around. The prosecutors are supposed to prove beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that you are guilty by raising an ounce of doubt. Some of you watching this program, either you have gone through stuff like this or people in your family and some of your friends have gone through stuff like this. And now you wish you hadn't pled guilty because your lawyer told you it couldn't be against you, which is a lie because it automatically goes on your record. Every time you go to apply for a job, it's right there. Except the records are sealed for the privileged and the wealthy and the politically connected. Now let's get back to this article. So at a brief hearing this past Monday, a judge ordered the musician, whose real name is Monterey Hill, to return to court on March 12, when the preliminary hearing date will be set. Quote, as you can see, Monterey is doing amazing, doing great, and we're super happy for him, attorney Drew Finding told reporters outside the Van Nuys West Courthouse. The singer stood by Finding's side, clad in a brown jacket, khaki pants, and brown cowboy boots. Quote, We're just looking forward to a positive resolution in the case, end quote, Feinstein said. So here's a picture of Lil Nas X. This is a recent photo of him outside the Van Nuys courthouse in Van Nuys, California. You can believe that they're working behind the scenes to make sure that this young man doesn't end up in jail. Lil Nas X was charged with 3 counts of battery of a police officer and 1 count of resisting an officer. Let's deal with counts of battery. Let's find out what this is when somebody is charged with counts of battery. Over here, I'm not just going to talk about stuff, I'm going to define what it is for purposes of clarity. Now, counts of battery can refer to either 2 or more instances of criminal assault and battery, or the number of charge or discharge cycles of a rechargeable battery. In a legal context, the count refers to a single specific accusation of a crime, so counts of battery would mean the prosecution is alleging multiple separate incidents of physical assault. In a technical context, battery cycle counts are used to measure how many times blah, blah, blah. I think this is overkill here. If the young man was high on drugs and you are arresting him and he's not coherent as to what he's doing, which is clearly evident, you can see from the video that Lil Nas X was not in his right mind. So how does that constitute to 4 felonious charges coming up against him? That's the reason why they lost in the Sean Diddy Combs case with the major charges. It's always excessiveness. They don't even treat the young man in California, I think it was Luigi Mangione, I think that's his name, who allegedly, quote unquote, murdered, executed the now deceased CEO of U.S. Healthcare. They're treating him with kid gloves because he comes from a very wealthy and rich family. And they want to make sure he doesn't go to prison. They're talking about how he's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania and he comes from a prominent family. What does that have to do with anything if you have been charged with these crimes? You don't see his face plastered all over the internet, in the news. You don't see the racist and bigoted network constantly talking about him every other second. You don't see him calling him a thug and a hoodlum and a gangster. You don't hear them saying anything against him whatsoever. And I read they got a nerve to be seeking a presidential pardon for him. And if a young black man was accused of the same type of crimes, y'all know what would have happened. All this preferential treatment in the kid gloves and holding his hand and putting him in a special cell and being out on bail with his bodyguards and stuff. None of that stuff will go on for a black individual, a black young man. They will call him a beast, a gorilla, an ape, a savage, a hooligan, a thug, a gangster. That's all you would be hearing 24 hours a day in the news cycle. So if he's found guilty, he faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. He's not going to be found guilty. I'll go on record to say that right now. And he's not going to do 5 years in prison. That's what they want. Why do they want it? Because they want to set a precedent. They want to send out an indirect message to all the black entertainers out there in the entertainment industry. And what is that message? You may be wealthy, you may be famous, you may be rich, millions of people may love you, but in our eyes, you're nothing but a black criminal. You're uppity so-and-so, and we're going to put you in your place. Yeah, I said it, because that's how these people think. So the singer was the first openly gay man to receive a Country Music Association award, winning for his 2018 hit Old Town Road. He has also earned 2 Grammys for the song. That does not matter. They're going for blood. His father, Robert Stafford, told reporters in August that Lil Nas X was very remorseful for what happened. Quote, close quote. He's going to get the help that he needs, end quote. His father said at the time. It's an uphill battle for this young man. And he's in for some serious things here. So I'll keep you updated. I'll keep you informed as to what's going on. It's going to be a plea, a negotiated plea, or it's going to be an outright trial. And I don't think they have enough evidence to find him guilty. He is afforded the same type of preferential treatment that the privileged get every single day. There should be no difference here. Now, some of you might not like this report. You're welcome, Wandering North. And I'm going to cover things fairly here. I told you before. I cover things straight down the middle. Never surrender. Never quit.